Hello, it's Elisabeth here. I hope you've been enjoying my 12 Days of Christmas projects. I've got another one for you today, and this one is featuring one of my mum's old embroidery hoops. For this project we will be working with the chipboard ephemera from the 12 Days of Christmas collection, a few of the green shades of paper from the A4 quality papers to make some holly leaves, one of the pages from the 12 by 12 papers. You can pick any of the patterns that you like. I particularly thought this page here with all of the 12 days and the red version here at the front would work particularly well with this project. Some ribbons to hang, a cutting tool, or you can use a dinner plate, and then you will need an embroidery hoop that I will show you in a moment. So this is a mock-up of what we're going to be making today, and I've got the embroidery hoops here, but I'm actually going to end up using just one of them. But the reason that I'm showing you this is because I had to plan out what I was going to do so that I had enough of everything, but then I didn't want to lose the idea. So I took my iPad and I'm going to take a picture, but I'm also going to lay this out to the side of me. So in a way I'm working backwards, but it might help you when you're coming to make your own wreath. So we're going to use sheets of this paper here. It means giving up these toppers, but this colourway is going to work really well. So I want to be able to transfer this design onto my other piece of paper, and I need the hoop. So because I'm working backwards, I'm just going to show you that I went with the 12 days, so I'm working like a clock. So I've got my drums at 12, my geese at 6, my rings at 5, my calling birds at 4, and so on. So I'm going to keep going. The hens are at 3, the dancers are at 9, and then we've got 2 and 1, 7, 8 maids are milking, the lords are leaping, and the pipers piping. But then I've got all of these various pieces of holly that I've cut. So I took 2 shades of the green paper, and I've got a holly leaf die, and I cut it out, and I want it in 2 shades. So I'm roughly putting it where I had it near the sentiments and the ephemera, so that I've got a rough idea where I want to put it back on the wreath. So it's working our way round, because I built it up and then I thought, how am I going to put this together? And that's quite often what happens, is that I come up with an idea and then I have to reimagine it so that I can actually create it. So I don't always just make things straight away. So again, that's how the wreath will look, and then this is my hoop. So now we need to create the background of the hoop. So let's move this one out of the way, and I can actually take 2 hoops. I'm going to use the larger one, and I'll save this for another project. So don't feel that you've got to use both in one go. I'm going to add a ribbon to this part here. Just going to tighten it up. These are probably embroidery hoops that belong to my mum. So they're getting repurposed, which you'll be pleased about. Now you have options here. You want to be able to stick the paper onto the back here. So you do need to make sure that the circle itself is wider than the circumference. So you could either draw around the edge and cut it away, or you could find a dinner plate that is the same size. Remember, it's the outside dimension, not the inside. Or you can use a tool like I've got here, which is a circular cutting tool. I used to use it when I was at school and we needed large circles for displays. So it's probably a good 12 years old, but all we need to do is to measure the diameter, and then we can use this tool to cut our circle. So the diameter, the outside of the hoop, is 10 inches. Using my ruler, the diameter of the circle is about 10 inches. I might go just 1/8 of an inch bigger. It will be a generous 10 inches to make sure that I'm on this outside edge. So then I'm going to use my tool and we'll move this to 10 inches. Let's go a smidgen over, and we can judge that that is the outside edge and it's going to hit the outside here. I'm just going to use some removable tape to hold this in place. And then we know that we're going to put the geese in. We want the swans in. We want the ladies in. Yeah, that's round about the centre point of the piece. Just go around again. See that we're happy with the design. And then we're going to push. I will try and find this tool online for you, so if you haven't seen it before, then you'll be able to get a version, because they are worth having. They're very useful tools, and you just loosely guide it around and you'll see that the circle will come apart. And you can do this for any size. There we go. And there we've got our circle. And there's the glass mat. So the hoop will sit on here. So we will add some tape to the hoop. I'm going to put a ribbon on the top here first, so that we've got something to hang the wreath from. So I've got a selection of ribbons. I don't think we want bunny rabbits at Christmas. The gingham would be a nice touch. And then I might be able to make a bow. That's also a nice ribbon. That's a Graphic 45 ribbon. And we've got some plain red. But I quite like this gingham. So I'm not too concerned about the height of it at the moment. But I do want to secure it in place so that I know that it won't be hindered when I come to stick everything on. Well, let's just make a knot up here, but we'll change this later on. I'm going to add, I think I'll put a little bit of glue gel, because I want it to be securely in place. Just the tiny dots. Find the halfway point. And put it tight. And hopefully that's in the centre of the wreath. And then you'll leave that to dry. And then again I'm going to add some glue to the edge of the circle. And I may well add some glue to the edge of the hoop as well. But this is the pin flare glue. It doesn't normally let me down. It's got a nice thin nozzle, so I can literally add a thin line of glue to the circumference of this circle. I'm going to add a small piece of glue onto the back of the ribbon, just a tiny amount to hold it in place. And then I think I will flip the hoop up hope that the just checking around the edge, there's like a millimetre of paper on the edge of the hoop, so probably the hoop wasn't in an exact circle, but the main thing is that we have secured in place the paper on the back of the hoop, and the ribbon is holding as well. That is an easy dead centre, so let's go with that. And then we've got a nice pattern. Don't need to make it harder for ourselves. So let's press the blade down. There's a blade on the underside of this black marker here, and you'll feel it come away from the paper and connect with the glass. The sound changes, and then you can hold the end of the ruler and it will literally come away. There we go, I think that's done it. Take away one of these pieces, there we go. That makes life easier. And there's our second circle. So we'll go with the sugar plum fairies, I think. So we want plenty of glue. Be liberal with it. And then we'll adhere the two together. Makes your wreath a little bit sturdier. And it neatens up the back of the project. So there we have the main part of the wreath. So now we're ready to add the leaves. So I'm going to start at the top, then we'll add a little arrangement to the top, like so. And I'll use a mix of the pin flare glue and the glue gel again. You just pop that behind there, and then some of the leaves can come down onto the back. So all I'm going to do is add pin flare to the parts where the leaves are going to hit the wreath. Don't forget, some of it's going to be covered up anyway, so you want to use a selection of the colours. I went for 2 of the colours, and it's rather like creating a floral wreath. So we're working in our 3s and our 2s. And then I'm going to add the drum in here. So there is self-adhesive on the back of these elements, but I'm going to make them extra secure by adding some pin flare glue gel. Let's go on there, because we definitely know it wants to go on that point. So then we will centre it up. Press it down securely. And then I think I'll add some more glue underneath, because I really want it to hold on to the wreath and not the ribbon. Just hiding it underneath, and then we'll attach that like so. So then we'll go to 6 o'clock with the geese laying. So we're going to have the geese laying here. So I'm going to do the reverse of this side, and I think I'll add another couple of layers of green here. It's always handy to have some extra leaves available. I do want the ephemera to be really securely holding these pieces down. So I'm probably putting on a little bit more than I normally would, but each time they are pea-sized pieces. So there's our 6 geese laying. Like I say, I might add some green to that. Then we'll go to 3 o'clock to the French hens. I think I want another piece coming down. You just end up adding more foliage as you go. So let's go down with a piece and then up with a piece like that, so we're covering the wreath. So the reason that I'm making this project is that hopefully this collection will be shown on Create and Craft television at some point in August. And I've had a little bit more time than usual to prepare these samples as part of the Craft Consortium design team. So I thought I would try and make a few more videos, because I'm often asked how I actually make the things. So when I make design team projects, I always try and work out something practical that we would be using these for, because it's not just a matter of making things that nobody is going to want to try for themselves. So I love making these types of wreaths anyway. My mum always used to make a wreath at Christmas time, and my sister has taken over that tradition now, but I somehow always end up making something with paper, so obviously it's more delicate than an actual wreath. However, it's not going to dry out, and if you're careful, I mean, you can try and cover it with some Mod Podge or something like that. With any luck, it will stay in place. So now we've got the 9 ladies dancing, and we've got one of the pretty ballerinas. So we're going to the 4 points first, and then we can work in between them, and then that's quite a nice way of making sure that you've got the even space. It gets harder as we go along because the larger elements still need to be fitted in, but if you are kind of making it up as you go along, as we are, then the main thing is that we are covering the 12 days, and we've got all of the elements as we go along. Okay, so now we're going to move up to 1 and 2. So we want 1 in here. These are quite large pieces, and then 2 will come about here. So I know I want to cover, I think I want to put 1 underneath. I might even go that shade of green underneath, and then have this shade of green on the top. This is going to be sent to the team at Craft Consortium, so I can't make it too big and flouncy because it makes it too tricky to post. So let's go with 1 and 2. So I'll put this one on. I think this time I'll add glue to the hoop, and I know that it wants to go in that kind of direction. Not really getting any of the leaves on that one, so we're relying on these elements here to hold it in place. So there's 1 and there's 2. So let's put our gel onto here. Don't think I trust myself on that. Let's go. Right, so it's going on that angle there. These will all dry clear anyway, but you want to try and make it as neat as possible. So we're going to go here. That's good, that's holding in place. And we want to, on this one here, I had to swap this one out for another project because I'd used it on something else. So that's why the back looks slightly different, because I had actually used it, but I needed all of these. But personally, I would buy 2 sets of this ephemera because I think it's so useful. You'll be able to do so many different things with it. And let's hide that under there, and then that gives the illusion of leaves underneath the hoop. So we've done 1, 2, 3. Now let's move on to the calling birds. So we want to go underneath a little bit, and underneath, like here, bring in the different shades of green. So again, I'm going to go in with the glue on the hoop. Five calling birds, dead in the middle there, 5 gold rings going there. Foliage here. So it's slightly changing from this design over here, but it was worth playing and taking a photo because it helps the design process rather than just trying to make it all in one go. Right, so now we're moving on to number 7. So we've got our swans. You want it to be around about the same height as the rings, but then our 8 maids of milking are quite tall. So again, I'll pop them into there, and we'll add our leaves like so. You can, of course, curl the leaves as well, but these particular ones are quite delicate. So our swans are sitting here. I like the height of that, so let's put a little bit of glue as well on the swan's neck. Down a little bit again. Got a spare leaf there. And then we've got our lords and our pipers. I quite like that the piper is looking towards the centre there. So again, rather than putting it on the leaf, we'll pop it on here. Feels a bit more secure doing it that way. And then we will hide that part. And then I think we'll bring this one up. I got a darker green. Maybe we'll go back to this darker green. Just hide that one in there. And then I might add that green in here to mirror that side. But let's get our lord a leaping on first, and our piper piping. Part of me almost wants to keep this wreath because I think it will look really nice in my home. I might have to get some more of the embellishments and make my own. So there we have the main elements of our wreath. I might end up tweaking it a little bit, putting a few more leaves on, but I'm relatively happy with that. You could keep on playing. I'm going to see what some of the pearl embellishments look like. I'm going to use them as holly berries. I've saved some of my older red sets from the Craft Consortium ranges, and I save them in colour palettes, so then when it comes to another project I've got them good to go. Try and group them in threes. Not going to be particularly easy because we haven't got a very wide space on the leaves themselves. Let's see if we can pop one on there. Okay, and we're not going to be able to put them absolutely everywhere, so let's go for another wider space. I have to turn the wreath around now because I'm stretching a bit too far. I'm trying to leave everything so that the glue gel sets. So we want 3 here. I might be brave and go for a few more holly berries, so let's put 3 here. We're going to go for 5 just to bling it up. I think I'm using up all of my supplies on this project, but it will be worth it. It will be a centerpiece. I'm going to leave this to dry at this point. I may well end up putting a Christmas sentiment through here, but it seems quite a shame to get rid of all the pretty pattern paper. But we'll leave it to dry at that point, and then I'll come back and take another look at it tomorrow. I decided to break up the pattern in the centre, and I die cut an old tonic sentiment and added the same colour green for the winter wishes. So it's coming from the 9 till the 3, so that breaks it up a little bit. And then I've added one of my card sentiments, but I wanted to show you how the finished project looks, and also to say that if the hoop is too big a thing for you to do, you could always adapt the idea and turn it into a card. So imagine the pattern paper around the back is your card blank, and then you could draw yourself a hoop or use a circle die cut and then add some of the smaller elements. But either way, it's a lovely project to make. I think it's going to look beautiful hanging up in the home, and I will have to decide whether I send this one in to the television shows on Create and Craft. We'll see nearer the time, but for now I hope you enjoyed seeing me make the project. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and of course if you have any questions please do ask.